Hello and welcome to the Daily Space for today, August 13th, 2019. I'm your host, Dr. Pamela Gay, and I am here to put science in your brains. Today, I'm hoping that we can make up for all the insanity that was Monday yesterday. It was a wild day filled with unexpected announcements, filled with, in my case, a leaky roof. I hope no one else experienced that one. And a whole lot of news to celebrate. Now, one of the side effects of having everything go slightly sideways yesterday is those of you who follow along over on Patreon may have noticed that you didn't get all the show notes you normally get. This is because of the chaos that was all the wonderful unexpected announcements that we got yesterday. So, let's get into it. And here I have to, kill the echo on my local device. All right. Yesterday, all of us were surprised to have, NASA out of nowhere announced, it wasn't out of nowhere, it was just out of nowhere to me. Yesterday, all of us were surprised to see a series of NASA's social media posts and a press release announcing that they'd selected the sites for follow-up observation and detailed examination. These are the places the mission team deemed the safest and the scientifically most interesting for potential sample return. CosmoQuest has been part of this project, but as we're a contractor to the University of Arizona, and this was, sorry, my dog just threatened the life of the camera. CosmoQuest has been part of this project for a long time, but as we're a contractor to the University of Arizona, I didn't know NASA's press release was coming, and I have to admit, it was awesome to see all of this and to see all the credit given to the members of CosmoQuest by the University of Arizona web pages dedicated to each of these 4 sites. Now, before I get into those sites, I want to give you a little bit of background. The original mission plan, it had to get radically redone many, many times. This is because Bennu refused to be anything any of us had imagined, and what we planned just wasn't possible. The original plan was to find a series of places that were about 25 meters in diameter, that's 82 feet, that were scientifically interesting and completely safe. The thing is, Bennu doesn't actually have any places on its surface, any clear regions that big. So the science team had to completely change what they were looking for. And it turned out that instead of looking for those 25-meter across landing touchdown sample sites, they had to instead back off on their demands and look for areas that were just 5 to 10 meters across. That's 16 to 33 feet. And this is a bit terrifying considering the spacecraft is 2.4 meters across. So while it's not exactly a tight parking space, it is a kind of small driveway. Now, in putting out the press release, they shared with us this fabulous news that you can see here in the image. The images needed for the site selection were delivered to CosmoQuest back in May. And since May 22nd, many of you out there have been helping us search through these images, measuring boulders, mapping craters, and marking rocks. You've actually made nearly 10 million rock marks. That's a lot of rocks. That's 10 times as many rocks as our prior worst case. This data was all folded into all the factors that were used to select the 4 sites. Each site consists of 2 different master images, and except for one of them, all these master images were fed through CosmoQuest. I'm not sure why we didn't get the one. I suspect it was an unsuspecting adjoining image. And you guys marked at least one of those 2 master images in full early on in the project. 2 of the sample sites you marked completely. And the other site, well, you're still finishing off one of those 2 images. But you finished off enough that, well, the data was good. And now I want to introduce you to the sites. And here I'm going to quote from the University of Arizona's OSIRIS-REx website. This is the Nightingale site. Nightingale contains mostly fine-grained dark material, and it has the lowest albedo or reflection and the lowest surface temperature of the 4 candidate sites. Nightingale's regolith also has the highest color variation, which suggests the presence of diverse materials. This is not also Nightingale. I forgot to change the name of this site. This is actually Sandpiper. This site is particularly interesting because of its location. It's inside of a small crater. This means that it may be a relatively young feature compared to Bennu's larger craters. Sorry, that was the wrong button. Such as the one in which Sandpiper was located. So Sandpiper, which we just looked at, this is a large crater. Now, sorry, this isn't, I don't know what site this is. This is Nightingale. Okay, so I can figure this out by process of elimination. This is Sandpiper. This is Osprey. That makes this one Kingfisher. This is Kingfisher. I'm sorry for the confusion, everyone. Kingfisher, this site is particularly interesting because of its location in a small crater, which makes it relatively young. Younger craters generally hold fresher, minimally altered material. Kingfisher has the strongest spectral signature for hydrated minerals. This means the minerals formed with water. So moving on, here we have Osprey. The diversity of rock types in Osprey's surrounding area suggests that the regolith within the sample region, that's the soil at the top, is also diverse. Osprey also has the strongest spectral signature for carbon-rich material among the 4 sites. It also ranks second for the highest albedo and color variation among the candidate sites. A larger, dark, low albedo patch of material in the center of the site is of high scientific interest for the mission team. And finally, we have Sandpiper. This is the one with the large crater. The site itself is a relatively flat area with a 16-foot, 5-meter radius. Sandpiper is surrounded by steep slopes and large boulders that are scattered throughout the area. There are 2 smaller, relatively young craters near Sandpiper that have ejected fresher material into Sandpiper's sampling region. Sandpiper has the second highest albedo variation among the possible sample collection sites. Hydrated minerals are also present, which suggests that Sandpiper may contain potentially unmodified carbon-rich materials. That means materials that haven't gone through some sort of chemical modification, which can be driven by all sorts of different things. Heating, impacting. Here on Earth, we have weather. So these are all kind of amazing sites. Now, the astute among you are noting that Bennu Mappers still has, when I took this image, 700 images still to mark. Last I looked, it was down to 699, and that number is going down quickly. It has a non-zero but diminishing number of images that still need marked. Each of these images has multiple views, but not the 15 views we want so that we can have solid statistics. The incomplete images have people asking, do we keep going? Do we keep marking? The answer is yes. Yes, you do. You keep marking all the images. All the images need to be marked because there's science left to do. It's not over until it's completely marked and completely published. It's no fat lady singing, but it is fat statistics getting submitted. All your marks are going to go into a whole lot of statistical research that will allow us to understand Bennu, to understand you and, well, just how many images, how many rocks rather, does an image need before chaos ensues? At what critical boundary is it that we go from, well, being able to mark every rock to everything's just a muddled mess? That's actually an important thing to try and understand, that you are going to let us understand by having multiple people mark each image. We're also doing a lot of science. And you guys, by completing all of these images, are also helping us understand just how much more work can be done when we as scientists open our doors and let anyone who is interested help us out. Please keep marking. Also, stay tuned for details on a future online party that will occur to celebrate everything that you've done. Later on today, I'm going to be working with colleagues over at the University of Arizona to figure out the procedures for notifying the people that presented data that, well, helps us understand those 4 potential landing sites to do a stop and go sample return off of Bennu. We're going to be letting you know, and we're going to be letting the world know just what you did. The first press release came out today, but it's not the last, and more are coming. And we're going to give all of you credit for all the things you're doing to help us out. Okay, so on to completely different news that is in a font size I can't read from this distance. So pardon me while I try and figure out at far too large a distance how to increase the font size. I think it's this button. Yes. Okay, so here we go. Now to switch things up a bit. Last week on August 9th, I received a press release from Mauna Kea Observatory saying that normal operations were going to begin on the existing telescopes up at the peak of Mauna Kea, shown here. Now, for a while, Mauna Kea had been shut down due to all the protesters that were at the base of the mountain that were trying to prevent and continue to try and prevent the construction of the 30-meter telescope. Now, in some cases, people didn't cross those protests because they respected the protests. In other cases, it was because they were afraid of the protests. Well, things have settled into a pattern. The protests continue, but everyone agrees the science can keep going and will keep going. So the staff are back doing the things they do. And on August 12th, yesterday, a press release came out that was making it clear these telescopes are necessary. And no single telescope is required for anything other than to answer interesting questions. We have built a worldwide network of telescopes that are capable of passing off objects one to another as the world turns, if we all just work together. And yes, there are observatories that are capable of doing things that other observatories can't. But at this point in time, no one observatory is necessary for the protection of the planet Earth. But a press release that came out today might lead one to believe that having Mauna Kea around is necessary for the protection of the planet Earth. And so just to let you know, there's a rock. It crosses the Earth's orbit. It's kind of big. If it hit us, it would be a really bad day. And observations taken since the mountain reopened have proven this rock isn't going to hit us, at least any time in the future that we can orbitally predict safely and accurately. So we're good. We're good, folks. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is we are seeing a series of press releases, what appears to be, and I'm going to do some research on this, a frequency that we haven't seen before, that are press releases geared not at saying, hey, look at this scientifically awesome thing that we've learned about the universe that changes the way we view the universe, but rather we're seeing a whole lot of press releases saying, hey, look at me, I'm important, look at me, pay attention. And when we get a bunch of press releases like this, what it's saying is there's a lot of organizations out there that are afraid that if they don't have the support of the public, that if they don't have the support of their legislators, they're concerned about their future. And when we see fear driving creation of press releases, or at least concern about maintaining constantly positive publicity, forcing press releases, that means that a lot of people are concerned that science isn't going to be allowed to stand on its own. And I just want everyone here to know, doing really good science takes time. When you hear silence from a group of scientists, that usually means they're super busy. They're trying to get the results done. They're frantically writing software, frantically compressing numbers, because their curiosity drives them to do more constantly. And I hope that we can return soon to a news cycle that is dominated by the, oh my God, we just learned this awesome thing and it changes everything. Come learn, come explore. Instead of press releases that are like, we exist, fund us. So tell everyone science matters and science takes time. And thank you for the bits, Super Cowboy. Thank you. I'm going to have to stand up and find where my Cheerios went. Oh, no, I don't. They're right beside me. So science takes time. Science takes time, and together we can give the science teams the space they need to do amazing science and not get distracted by the need to do publicity. Okay, so that's all I've got for today other than a really cute dog. So I'm now going to scroll back and I'm going to take your questions and see what all you have to say. All right, so here we go, going back to the beginning. Oh, I didn't mean for there to be an echo. Sorry about that. Sorry. Yes, more mapping, Arinstro. More mapping. Yeah, Paranor. Bennu shocked all the expletives out of all of us. Yesterday, I had promised I would spend the afternoon doing some coding. In broken promises, I need to not make promises. Because reality was, we got a press release I needed to, well, celebrate and learn more about. I'm hoping to get back to coding today. One of the problems we're trying to solve is there's so much data. It broke a lot of our software, and I'm now trying to figure out how to deal with that. So Arnstro has a fabulous quote about Bennu. The data suggest that the regolith grain size is moderate, ranging from several millimeters up to a centimeter and evenly distributed. That is, there's boulders as well. And I think what this gets at is there's even smaller rocks under the bigger rocks, people. There are smaller rocks underneath the bigger rocks. Larry makes an excellent comment. Life is what is happening when you make other plans. So scrolling. Looking for questions. Thank you for commenting on the pendant, Hanny. It is actually one of my own. Let me move the microphone. I paint these, and they're available over on Etsy. I need to do some more. I don't know how much stock I currently have. Twitch is twitchy. The Nightingale site, Veronica Cure points out, has bright white material on it. People are now discussing all the different birds the sites are named after. I do need to learn more about these birds. The data set must be completed. It's true. It's true. Looking for questions. I like Falco's comment that he's a slim earther. Our planet is kind of lightweight in the grand scheme of things. Yeah, yeah, Larry, it's hard to understand. Larry writes that he's not happy about scientists crossing the picket line. In this case, it's more of a protest line. There's a lot of mixed emotions here. It's really frustrating. For those of you who don't know the background, the big concern with Mauna Kea is the original lease for the mountain was put through in 1968. It's a 65-year lease. It's coming up for renewal soon. And the original agreement said that only a certain number of telescopes would be built. And the astronomers have found loopholes so that they count Keck 1 and Keck 2 as one telescope. They count an array of radio dishes as one telescope. And so they're managing to stay within the letter of the law without staying in the spirit of the law. And when the agreement was first written, no one imagined that the telescopes would grow so big that you could see them from the surroundings. And you can see them in the surroundings. And the current telescopes are all small compared to the 30-meter telescope. And there's reason to believe that if the 30-meter telescope is allowed to be built, there will be no choice given except to renew the current lease on the mountain. And people are tired of broken promises. They're tired of not getting the educational benefits, the jobs, the resources that they'd like to see. And it's a hard situation. Don't break promises. I think that's the moral of today. We're all guilty sometimes. And when we do break our promises, we need to say, I'm sorry, and make things right. And with the Mauna Kea story, there have unfortunately been a number of astronomers that instead of saying, I'm sorry, let me make it right, have instead basically said, F you, we're going to do what we want in the name of science. And it doesn't help race relations, cultural relations, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't help relationships. And yeah, it comes down to just keeping your promises. And as I said, that's something I too need to work on. And sometimes it means learning not to make promises. Okay. Yeah, it's important to point out, as Arnstrup points out, that the indigenous people were promised access for their rituals and celebrations, and they are being denied access to the mountain, which is completely against the original agreement. So yeah, it's a hard situation. We all want to see these observatories thrive. This is the best northern hemisphere site in the world in terms of combination of altitude and ability to see clearly, especially in the infrared wavelengths. It's not the only site. It's just the best. The Canary Islands love it when we build observatories there. It's good for their economy. It's good for their infrastructure. They are not as high, not quite as good, but they host some of the best telescopes in the world. There are other places, Kitt Peak, Mount Wilson, McDonald Observatory, where I did my work. So takes a world. And if we want to do the best science, we need to include all the voices. And one of the things that makes me most sad is the University of Hawaii has never seen a PhD Native Hawaiian in astronomy. So let's encourage the Hawaiians to love astronomy instead of hate it. Anyways, that's enough soapboxing for today. Hanny asks, would the 30-meter telescope need to be redesigned for the Canary Islands? No, the design still works. The design works wherever you put the telescope. It just won't be able to do as much of the highly detailed work in the infrared because more of the wavelengths are blocked out by the atmosphere. So Veronica Cure is asking any suggestions for observing the Perseids. So they're winding down right now. We are at the tail end of what is one of the best meteor showers of the year. And this year it's nicely timed so that the moon is setting before the brightest of the Perseids come out. You want to go out early in the morning. Look towards the constellation Perseus. There are plenty of star charts over on sites like Sky and Tell. And my personal recommendation is get yourself a nice yoga mat, a lawn chair, a hammock, and just lean back and look up. Stick some podcasts in your ears or some nice music and enjoy this celestial set of fireworks if your weather allows. I, for one, have had thunderstorms, which is a different kind of sky show, which can be interesting, just not quite as scientific. So yes, these are the things I have to recommend. And folks are discussing how, thank you for following Gouda cheeseburgers. I don't know if that's a play on good cheeseburgers or Gouda cheese on burgers. Excellent use of a double meaning. Excellent use. Thank you for the follow. So that pretty much winds up what I have to say today. I am going to go run some errands prior to being back. My goal is to talk to some people who need talked to and work on software today. So stay tuned. I'm going to go get me some nice lunch and pick up a few things I need to pick up at the store. And then the science will continue. So this has been a production of the Planetary Science Institute, working in collaboration with Youngstown State University, and at some point my slides shifted. Sorry about that, folks. Thank you for the bits. Eddie's like, wait, does that mean I get something? You have to come up here. Come on, up here. Good boy. Here, we have cute dog, happy to get treats. Strangely cut in half by the green screen. I need to train him to come back up on the other side of this bench. Thank you, Trekker Kev, for the bits. You're a good boy. The science will continue. And as always, we are a production of the Planetary Science Institute, working in collaboration with the Youngstown State University. I am your host for today, Dr. Pamela Gay, and this channel is brought to you by myself and our own binary ablaze, Annie Wilson. This show is brought to you by you. Your monetary contributions make this show happen and allow us to pay Susie and Annie. And Susie is the one who gets the show notes posted over on Patreon and all the other places. And she's the one that is producing and editing the excellent videos that are going up on YouTube. Should you miss us live here on twitch.tv/CosmoQuestX, you can catch us later on youtube.com/C for channels/CosmoQuest. So check us out. Subs on YouTube are free and follows here on twitch.tv are free. And I think that is everything. I am now going to look into rolling the credits, and I'm going to ask, hey, is there anyone I should raid? Because I am ready to raid someone. So I will go raid as soon as the credits are rolling. But before I start them, I just want to remind you all, wherever you are in the world, have a fabulous morning, evening, or afternoon. Get outside and look up. And then go online and help us finish out bennu.cosmoquest.org. Thank you all. Bye-bye.